Welcome to today's festive video where I'll be showing you how to create 5 simple Christmas cards using watercolour paint. So starting with probably one of the more simple of the 5 designs, I sketched out in pencil the overall shape of a gingerbread man before going in with a light coloured brown paint. Now for all of these Christmas cards, I will be creating them using watercolour paints and card that can handle watercolour. So if you are a beginner and you find yourself in your local hardware store, perhaps ask the cashier or somebody that works there whether or not the blank cards that you're about to buy can handle watercolor paints, and they should be able to advise you. Usually it will say on the pack of paper or card as well what paints and materials are suitable for example, whether it's acrylic paint, watercolor paint. So just to avoid disappointment, perhaps do a test run on one of the cards that you already have, or be sure to ask the person that you're buying it from. But back to the gingerbread man. So you've seen me put down my first wash of colour, and before I've allowed this layer to dry, I'm going in again with another layer of brown, but this time just around the edges in order to make the gingerbread man stand out slightly more and just add a bit of depth to the picture. So the fun thing about these Christmas card designs is that you can make them completely personalized to you or your friend or family member that you're giving them to. For example, with the gingerbread man, you can try and stylize them so that they look like the person that you're going to be giving it to. That will be really fun. Or you can change the expressions, what the gingerbread man is wearing. But with all of the designs, the colors and the creativity is completely up to you. This is just giving you the base layer, if you like, to the Christmas card design, and then you can adapt it and make it more fun and playful however you feel like. But for me on my card, I decided to keep it fairly simple and traditional, so I'm just adding in a simple smiley face. And for the extra details, I'll be using this white marker pen that you can see. So it worked really well for me, although I did have to go over it a couple of times to make it stand out as much as I wanted. But it allowed for a lot of flexibility and details that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to achieve, and I really like the way that it contrasted against the orangey brown background of the gingerbread man. And finally, for the background, I decided to add a little more Christmas sparkle using this gold gel pen to add in some stars, just to add something else so the background was slightly less plain, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Moving on to the second design, we have the Christmas baubles. So using some small glasses and a couple of coins I had lying around, I drew around them to get the basic circle shape, and then again for this one you can use whatever colors take your fancy. I used a mixture of this one particular reds and purples, but I also incorporated some blues, greens and yellows just to make for a really colorful Christmas card. So as you can see, I'm working quite quickly. Obviously I've sped up the video slightly, but I'm adding in the additional colors whilst the first color is still wet. So here we had the yellow paint, and now whilst it's still wet, I'm adding in the green. So the watercolor bleeds really nicely and mixes together. The great thing about watercolor is that you are able to layer the paint. So this red and purple bauble allowed the first layer to completely dry before going in with my second layer, just to add a bit more saturation of that color and make it slightly brighter. Now, not all of the baubles have completely dried, but for the ones that are, I am able to go in with my gold pen again and draw in some lovely details. So for this green and yellow one, I've gone for some simple stripes, and then the blue one to the left, I think I went for some polka dots. So again, feel free to draw or doodle whatever you like. It could be stars. You can add some glue and glitter if you have additional materials available. But yeah, anything that you think will make the card look nicer, and just have fun with it. Now normally I would have drawn all of the details on all of the baubles before going into the tops of the baubles, but for some reason I worked in a strange order, and the purple and pink one wasn't quite dry yet, so I had to wait for that to dry completely before I could go in with the gold pen. And for this one I just went for some simple stars. Simple but effective. Don't always pressure yourself into drawing or doodling the most complex of things. Sometimes simple is best. And finally, to finish off, I just added in the glittery strings that hold the baubles up and then added on the text at the bottom. This is probably one of my most favourite designs out of the 5 just because of the simplicity and the colours used. And it's time for design number 3. So we have the Christmas tree with the presents underneath. So starting out with a basic triangle shape for the tree. Again, feel free to go crazy with the colours. I think I used a bit of everything, and whilst the paints were still wet, so they blended nicely into each other, I just kept on adding more and more different colours. And it's kind of fun just watching the way that the colours do bleed into each other and make their own decision, if you like, as to how it's going to end up. So yeah, just keep adding more, and there is no right or wrong way of doing this. It's just whatever takes your fancy. Moving on to the presents underneath the tree, I'm just going to apply the same technique. So again, wet on wet and just the basic present shape. Don't worry too much about the details. We'll be adding those in later with some pen. Now that everything has had a chance to dry completely, I'm able to go back in with that white marker pen and add in some tree details. So I've just gone for some stripes, dots and zigzags, but feel free to make it as complicated or as simple as you like. You can add swirls. Again, feel free to add bits of glue and glitter, anything at all, glitter pens. But yeah, have fun, explore, and perhaps create a couple of different variations and see which one you prefer the best. And just moving on to the presents, I went in with a black fine liner pen just to add some bow details, but again, I could have used the gold pen. There's really no rules to this. I just kind of went with the flow of what I was feeling in the moment, but I'm happy with how it's coming together, and you can see that the tree background is super colourful and looks really nice against some of the detailing that you add in after. So with a few final touches, here is the final result. Christmas card number 4, and it's the reindeer. So apologies for the slightly wonky camera angle, but the idea is to draw an almost egg shape, and then you want to draw a line across the middle of that egg. It is quite faint, I appreciate, on the camera in the pencil, but once I start to paint, hopefully you'll get a better idea of what it is that we're aiming for. So starting with the light brown color, I'm just filling in the top half of the head, and this is going to be Rudolph the reindeer. So a nice bright red nose. So colouring in the ears, and then whilst the paint is still wet, going in with another layer just to add a bit more contrast to that brown, especially around the edges. Now it's time to add some antlers. So I'm using a darker shade of brown again, and this is where you can make them as big, as small as you want. Yeah, anything goes really. So now it's time to work on some of Rudolph's facial features. So adding in some nice rosy cheeks. Obviously it's cold in the North Pole. Before adding in the bright red nose, I've just left a little bit of white for the highlight. And I'm going to add in the eyes and mouth next. So at this point, I felt like I was quite happy with the way that the reindeer had turned out, so I added in the Merry Christmas message at the bottom. But as you'll see, I did end up changing my mind and adding in this green background. I think it just made it look a bit more finished to me. You don't have to add this in the background, but I definitely felt that it added to the card. And lastly, but not least, it is the wreath Christmas card. So as you saw quickly, I just used a masking tape that I had lying around, and I used that for the template for the circle. You're going to want to use something that's fairly big, because obviously we're going to be drawing the leaves around the edge. So just with my green shade, just doing these leaf shapes all the way around, changing direction at the bottom, but again, it doesn't really matter which way the leaves are facing. It's just whatever works well for you. So now that I've finished with the leaves, I'm adding in the berries. And to be honest, with this design, it's all about layering. So once the first layer of leaves are dry, I'm going in with a deeper shade of green just to add a bit more body to the wreath. And I'll be using 3 different shades of green in total. But again, just working your way around the wreath and trying to make it look slightly more full. Now that I'm happy with the leaf work, I've sketched out Happy Holidays in pencil, and now I'm just going to go over it with my gold pen. And there you have it, 5 different Christmas card designs that you can try at home that are all beginner friendly. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and followed along. Let me know in the comments which one is your favourite, and I hope to see you in the next video.